Good morning, everyone. We're going to give continuation to Chapter 16, special mediums, in which Kardec brings a variety of type of mediums. We covered a lot today. We are going to start at 194, but I just want to remind us a few things that I think is important when we study this book. We are here talking about mediums, and we're talking about great types of mediums that are encountered out there. We need to keep in mind one thing, that this book, at least as much as I know, at least in the Western culture, is the very first guideline, is the very first literature that anyone could find in the topic of mediumship, to help mediums to understand themselves, to help us to understand the mediums, to have something that you can hold in your hand and say, this is the how one should use this talent. How are the things that we, or what are the things that we should kind of avoid when we are having this talent and put it to work, how to benefit the most of having this talent. So it's obvious that when Kardec, in his observations, with his scientific observations, of course, encountered mediums, he encountered a lot of mediums who had no idea of really what mediumship was, had no guideline, has nothing to guide them, to teach them. And I think that is the reason that Kardec was so thorough in his observations and creating this didactic table of mediums, mediumship talents, mediumship qualities, and break down everything in the minute as possible details to be the best possible guideline for mediums to use its talent, its aptitude, and for us who benefit from the work that the medium does, if not we ourselves being mediums, right? I think one thing is very important to remember always when you're dealing with this, with mediumship, is that the medium is an instrument, and an instrument that should express what's coming from the spiritual direction. So when Kardec plays over here, it's very important to remember the nature of the resulting communication is always related to the nature of the spirit and bear the stamp of its degree of evolution, not of the medium, its wisdom or its ignorance of the spirit, not of the medium. Okay, I think it's very important that we keep that in mind, because depending on the type of work that is done in a mediumship meeting, we're going to see mediums receiving, majority of the time, angry, ignorant, hateful kind of spirits, and you say, oh my God, that's what this medium is. Absolutely not. Again, the nature of the result communication is always related to the nature of the spirit and bears the stamps of its degree of evolution, its wisdom or its ignorance. And again, not of the medium, okay? I think this is very, very important for us to keep in mind. So Ron last week covered many different types of mediums. We stop at 194. And we are going to continue reading from there, which is Variety of Writing Mediums, right? And we'll cover the mechanical, semi-mechanical, intuitive. And if there's any question regarding any of the topics that Ron covered, we can always go back and look at it, okay? And what is 194? Here's 194.
There it is.
Okay.
Okay. 194. Number 4. According to the medium's physical qualities, calm mediums, those who always write at a rather slow pace without the least agitation. Fast mediums, those who write with a speed that could not voluntarily produce in their normal state. Spirits communicate with them at the speed of lightning. One can say that they possess a super abundance of fluid, which enables them to instantly identify with a spirit. Because of this speed, however, this quality has the inconvenience of rendering the writing almost illegible to all except the medium, him or herself.
Sorry.
Okay. It is also very tiring because it uselessly wastes a great deal of fluid. Convulsively.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so 194 Kardec is going to cover what he's calling over here medium's physical qualities. We all have our own personal way of doing things. Some people talk fast. Some people talk slowly. Some people walk fast. They have a tendency to walk more slow. Some people that tend to be more observant of the surrounds. Other people are more focused on where they want to go and just go straight. We have to remember over here that we are dealing here with human differentiations that not make necessarily better or good, better or worse, just different. Not bad, not good, but just different. It's the way that we are, basically. So Kardec's presenting here some of the physical qualities. When it comes to some are calm mediums, it's, in other words, writing at a slow pace. But again, going back, that the quality of the communication represents more of the spirit than of the medium. So even a calm medium who is perhaps receiving at the moment a medium, a spirit that is excited, that is, jumping around, perhaps even that calm medium will express in its writing that excitement that the spirits bring, because again they are connected and receive, and the mediums receiving the energies of that spirit. So if the energies of the excitement of agitation, so perhaps even the calm medium will show what's been expressed in the mind of that spirit. Okay, it may not be as calm as that medium usually is, and perhaps if that same spirits come through what Kardec's calling a fast medium, then that expression will be showed even stronger. To be really excited, the writing and everything else. Okay. Well, another thing to keep in mind here is that the time in the spiritual dimension, it's said to be not the same rate as we have over here. Dr. Dacio Andolin, in his book, Transdimensional Physiology, it creates a graph using science, using physics, to show that the likelihood that the speed of time in the spiritual world is faster than what we have here, and actually much faster. Okay, and you actually use physics, use physical equations to demonstrate that. And that's why when, like in our dreams, Dacio also tells us that it's very hard when we wake up to put the chronological events in order, it seems like we go from something's happening here, and the next thing they remember is something completely different, much ahead of the time. And that's because when you come back to our physical world over here, it's very hard to match up the speed of events in the spiritual world with the speed of events here in our physical world. Okay? And that's why sometimes when the spirit comes in, the spirit is fast, is writing fast, everything is fast, because the time in the spiritual world is a little bit faster. Yes, the spirit now is associated with the medium, is receiving that anemic energy. It will slow down things, but perhaps again, it isn't the nature of that medium also, of the spirit, I'm sorry, to be faster, to be more excited, and it will be expressed. So what I'm trying to say here is, although we have, and Kardec again, very didactically breaking things down to a minimum as possible in the varieties of mediumship that I encountered, he tries to bring all the little nuances of the mediums. But keep in mind that the medium is an interpreter of the spiritual dimension, of the spirit. Okay, never forget that the spirit is the one who is dictating the events during that mediumistic phenomena, although the medium is the one responsible, always. Okay? Questions, comment? Well, and again, Kardec just talked about here, when the things is so fast and the medium is right so fast, we had the opportunity to see that becomes hard, very hard to be able to read what's being written, and only the medium is able to actually read it, and sometimes even the medium, him or herself, have some difficulty to understand his or her own handwriting, because again, the spirit who is dictating, that is passing its energies, is passing its thoughts, so the medium can write. It's passing the thoughts very fast, and the medium has to keep up. And sometimes you see the hands move that it's like not really comparable with a person writing at a normal state of consciousness outside of the mediumistic trance. It's much faster. You don't expect that me or anyone else to write with that speed. But during the mediumistic trance, they can really write at a very fast pace, which sometimes is a waste of time, because if you write so fast that nobody can understand, and if the medium has trouble understanding it, it becomes being a waste of energy and enormous consumption of fluid. Comments, questions? Okay, continue.
Okay. Convulsive mediums. Those who remain in an overexcited, almost feverish state. Their hearing, sometimes their entire body, trembles in such a way that they cannot control it. The cause is undoubtedly in their own physical composition, but much also depends on the nature of the spirits who communicate through them. Good and benevolent spirits produce an agreeable and gentle impression. Evil ones, on the other hand, a painful impression. These mediums should rarely use their faculty because frequent use can adversely affect their nervous system. And it says chapter on identity, distinction between good and evil spirits. Okay.
So, of course, we are here eliminating the theater, okay? We are considering everything that is happening here is in the nature of the medium, that the medium is not, putting up a theater, so to say, right? As we is seen other, I want to say religion, but other groups, other doctrines that work with mediumship, that there is a whole ritual of movements and things. We are considering here that it's completely natural what's happening. No theater, no artificial movements over here, right? And again, some mediums will have that special way of receiving, of association, receiving spiritual energies that make them hands shake, that makes the head shakes, and it is the natural way of the medium presents it. In general, there is nothing wrong with that. But again, always let's go back that they are receiving energies from the spirits, and depending of the kind of the energy they're receiving of that spirit, the state of mind, the state of of the emotional state of the spirit will affect the medium. So even, let's say, a calm medium may present a tremors of the hands, some movements that it's usually not compatible with that medium that is usually calm. But then that convulsive medium, that even when you receive a more calm spirit, there will be a movement of the hand, and usually it's not a big deal. Okay. Now, naturally, the medium, the same medium receives, let's say, a message for the benefactors, a message of love or a higher order spirit. The likelihood of have those convulsive movements is much lesser. Then you see a spirit who is angry, comes here, I'm gonna kill all of you, you gotta disturb my work, you don't know who you're dealing with. The tendency of that medium have a more convulsive movement, it's much greater naturally, because again, it's coming from the spirits, not necessarily for the medium. Now, for those who have this a higher convulsive kind of attitude that really stresses its nervous system, because remember, every movement that we have in our body there is an expression of what the nervous system is doing. There is a suggestion of Erastus over here that those mediums should be careful with practicing that mediumship to avoid hyper excitement of the nervous system. And then that question that I would have, and I guess most people would have, is so they should really avoid it, or they should really avoid with greater frequency. Once a week is okay, twice a week is okay, every single day is not okay. I don't know. I don't know if you can quantify here. Okay, when suggest they should avoid it. I don't think there's a necessity of absolutely stopping it, because if that medium receives that, and that's me saying here, that talent receive that, that mission of having this ability of being a medium, is to put it to work somehow. Okay. Now, the frequency may not be as much as one would like. Perhaps one would slow down, do a little less, or perhaps let's say in a mediumship, the kind of that we do, that a medium may receive 3 communication, we limit it to 1 communication. Okay, you're good for 1 communication. And that's the beauty of doing the work in group, in the right place, with the right people, with individuals who understand and study mediumship to do things the right way. Perhaps that medium, in a center where there is no such attention to the education of mediumship, that medium would be overworked and would be in a state of hyper excitement of the nervous system that could provoke some problem in the future. So the importance of educating ourselves, doing what we are doing here, is when it's time to apply it. Apply it for the good of the medium and everyone also, because one of the things that we must protect is the medium first and before anything else. And then Kardec continues now with according to the medium's moral qualities, which is what really counts, right? But I like to point out here now that when we're dealing with now, we are dealing with human qualities. We're dealing with human virtues, with human vices. It's the same qualities, the same virtues that make us good persons, good professionals, good parents, good students, and it's the same vices that derails us from the path of good. So when we talk about the moral qualities over here, applicable to mediums, it's the same one applicable to us in general in our lives, in everything that we do. Remember over here again that mediums having that organic component that allows them to have a window open to the spirit dimension a little more than most of us are just like us. They have qualities, have vices, have virtues, just like us. And those qualities, those virtues, those vices are expressed in everything. A jealous person is jealous in the household, is jealous at work, is jealous in everything they do. You know, a compassionate person is compassionate in the household, is compassionate at the place of work, at school, everywhere they go. So the medium also, with his or her qualities, virtues, or vices, those intrinsic characters of its personalities will be also be expressed in its mediumship as well. So there is a, and again, Kardec breaks it down here as much as possible for didactic reasons, but understand that mediums are humans. They have pretty much the same qualities and vices and virtues that we all have, right? Okay. Any comments, any questions? Okay, 195.
195. According to the medium's moral qualities. We only mention these mediums in passing at this point in order to complete the table, since we shall address them in the following special chapters: the moral influence of mediums, obsession, the identity of spirits, and others for which we ask particular attention. We will observe the influence that the qualities and shortcomings of mediums can exert on the reliability of the communications, in which mediums can rightly consider themselves to be imperfect or good mediums.
Okay, so you just note over here that, you know, the moral qualities is what really counts. And Kardec brings a point over here that over here is just giving a little glimpse of the importance of moral qualities, because it's so important that he dedicated other chapters, and he expands a lot more in morality. In other chapters, the moral influence of mediums, obsessions, the identity of mediums. Those are all things that deals specific with moral qualities. Okay? And then he continues with imperfect mediums. And I would question, somebody may question, so are there perfect mediums? And except for Jesus, there was the perfect medium of God. There is no perfect mediums. Every medium that we encounter in this planet, living in this planet of trials and turbulences and atonements, are imperfect. Each one of us carries more or less one of those imperfections, but it's no perfect mediums to begin with. Okay?
Okay.
And it's very important when Kardec shows this over here. I'm sorry, I'm perhaps talking too much, but I think it's important that it eliminates a taboo. Eliminates that idea that a medium is someone who deserves to be on a pedestal, is someone who at the level of sainthood. When Kardec puts all those imperfections of a medium over here, he brings mediums to the human level and eliminate that taboo that was current in his time, and unfortunate even up to these days. A lot of people are confused, putting mediums at a higher level than most of us, which is absolutely wrong. Medium is just one of us. Okay? 196.
196. Imperfect mediums, obsessed mediums, those who cannot free themselves of importunate and deceptive spirits, but who are nonetheless not fooled by them. Deluded spirits, deluded mediums, those who are fooled by deceptive spirits and delude themselves about the nature of the communications they receive. Subjugated.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Just want to say that the differentiation of Kardec is so specific in breaking down to the smallest possible piece of the puzzle over here when he makes the differentiation of obsessed mediums. Of course, mediums are being tormented by other mediums who are having a persistent influence by other spirits, which is never good. Okay, but are not fooled by them. They are obsessed and they know they're obsessed. The difference here with deluded mediums, those who are fooled by deceptive spirits and delude themselves about the nature of the communication they receive. They may or may not be obsessed, but they are fooled. They are being deceived. The spirit may come in, write 6 pages of wonderful words with a empty content, and they may be dilute the thing that they wrote a masterpiece. You see that how Kardec really tries to break down and show those differentiates, the nuances. That's the thing that we need to pay attention when you read each one of those things. A medium may have all of them or none of them. Can have some of them because they are imperfect, right? Is when we read those things to really pay attention to what Kardec's trying to tell us here. Most of the things here is mostly reading. There's very little observation that I can make. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead. Subjugated mediums.
Subjugated mediums, those who are morally and often physically dominated by evil spirits.
So here we see a higher degree of obsessions. Kardec is even separated an obsessed medium from a subjugated medium. A subjugated medium is an obsessed medium at a much higher level, exponentially stronger degree of influence, so strong that even physically it can be dominated by spirits.
Okay, frivolous mediums, those who do not take their faculty seriously, but use it only as entertainment or for useless purposes. Continue.
Yes, please.
Indifferent mediums, these take no moral advantage of the instructions they receive, nor do they change anything about their conduct and habits. Presumptuous mediums, those who claim that they are in touch only with highly evolved spirits, they deem themselves infallible and regard whatever does not come through themselves as inferior and erroneous. Proud mediums, those who flatter themselves because of the communications they receive. They think they have nothing more to learn about spiritism and do not take to heart the lessons they frequently receive from spirits. They are not content with the faculties that they currently possess. They want all of them.
Okay. So frivolous. Any questions there? Indifferent medium. That is interesting. Every time that we receive a message, especially for the mediums, that message is usually for us, especially for the medium. The medium must have the humbleness to understand that The messages that deals with upgrading moral values is for everyone, including the medium, and sometimes specifically for the medium. We say over here that very often, or most of the time, the messages from the good spirits have a universal aspect to it. It's for everyone. It's for one who is receiving and for everyone who reads. There's always exception to the rules. There may be time that the spirit is talking directly to the medium. Okay. But again, in general, it's most of a universal value that is good for everyone. This is good for everyone. It's also good for the medium. So the indifferent medium is one who wastes opportunity for receiving and applying, of course, the good messages. Presumptions versus proud. I mean, a presumptuous spirit is a proud spirit. Those who claim that they are in touch only with the highly evolved spirits. That's a sign of pride. It is different from the proud, the way Kardec breaks it down, okay? Because now the proud mediums, they flatter themselves because the communication is, they think that the message they receive are the good ones, are better than the others, what other mediums receive. They think that they have nothing more to learn about spirits and do not take to heart the lessons they frequently receive from the spirits. So a proud medium is also an indifferent medium. Okay? Because over here, Kardec just define what he defined out there as an indifferent medium. They think they have nothing more to learn about spirits. They do not take heart to the lessons they frequently receive from spirits. So they waste opportunities of learning something about themselves, something applicable for themselves, right? They are not content with the faculties they currently possess. They want all of them. We're going to see ahead the problem with this when we get over there. But it's when you dilute yourself in many different activities and become mediocre in all of them and not really good in one of them. Okay. Any questions, any comment? And again, I have said myself that this will be just reading because there's not much to read. And I guess I'm continue talking too much, but if I think it's important to show how Kardec really tried to break things down to the point that sometimes it's very hard to separate one of the others. Because again, a proud medium is very often indifferent medium, and a presumptuous medium is definitely a proud medium. So there is this commonality of all those imperfections over there.
Okay. Susceptible mediums, a variety of proud medium who take offense at the criticisms leveled at their communications. They are hurt by the least remark against them. When they display what they have received, it is meant to elicit admiration rather than an opinion. They usually have an aversion for persons who do not lavish praise upon them and avoid meetings in which they cannot impose themselves and dominate. Let them strut about elsewhere and seek a more complacent audience, or let them keep entirely to themselves. Meetings without their presence lose nothing. Gratis. Meetings for hire. Those
Okay.
okay.
Just a minute, sorry, thank you.
Okay.
There's a big problem, susceptible mediums, which is a proud medium, right? Is a medium who's full of him or herself, right? Very proud. Do not accept criticism. One of the things that is important in a serious mediumist group is the conversation amongst the members and an open, frank, sincere conversation. And for that, the individuals taking part of it, in it, the dialoguers, the ones providing the vibrations, the mediums, needs to be humbled, have a thick skin to receive criticism. And know the criticism is done with the intention of improve the quality of the group, the quality of the work being done, and the quality of the individuals being part of that meeting. If you're going to improve a team, you need to be honest and say, hey, pay attention to this and this part of what you are doing. If you do this, perhaps the work, the result will be better. A susceptible medium is not a team player. It's someone who puts the quality of the work at risk, who put the quality of the group at risk. If I'm not able to receive criticism, constructive criticism, you are causing yourself, you're giving yourself a big problem. You are denying yourself an opportunity of growth, of learning, of improving. And Eras is very harsh over here. It's almost mean when he says here, let them strut themselves and seek a more complacent audience, or let them keep entirely to themselves, meaning without the presence, lose nothing. Again, we need to preserve first the medium, him and herself, and we try to educate a proper group of mediumistic work, 6, to educate one another. And the group should try to help that medium. The group should try to show that medium where the problem lies and what is the pathway to make the corrections. But again, we can take the horse to the water, but we cannot make it drink. Right? And if the mediums consistently refuse to accept the constructive criticism, then at that point, I think this suggestion of Erastus is proper, because then we need to preserve the group first after we try to make the necessary corrections with the medium. Comments, questions? Okay, continue.
Yes, mediums for hire, those who exploit their faculties. Ambitious mediums, those who, even though they do not actually sell their abilities, nonetheless hope to get something for them.
Okay, very important here, differentiation, not applicable to the mediumship practice in accordance with spirituals. I'm not saying that's not happening in spiritualism, it should never happen, but in accordance with spiritualism, those two things should be completely be crossed out. Mediums for hire, those who receive money for it. Just as simple as that. In spiritualism, give it for free what we receive for free. And we can go into this discussion at another time, because there is a reasoning for that. There is a cause and an objective. Give for free what you receive for free. I'm not going to that discussion now, but spirituals, that is absolutely cross out. Ambitious medium is different. Those who, even though they do not actually sell their abilities, nonetheless, they hope to get something from them. We always mention over here, there's many ways that we seek to gain from mediumship things outside of money itself. I don't accept money, but I accept notoriety. Is that the word? I forgot that. I'm not saying it right. I can accept being placed on a pedestal. I can accept receiving gifts. I can accept being invited to symposiums to think with the all the trip paid for, hotel paid for, and everything paid for me. So there's many ways that an ambitious medium will seek to profit from its abilities, not necessarily receiving cash in hand. And not only material things, but no, the proud ones, the one of the recognitions, receiving the name written in one of the rooms. This is, that there's Land's room, right? As in my name because I'm such a great medium and stuff like that as well. Which is pride. Always going back to pride. Always going back to pride. If you haven't noticed, when you're dealing with the imperfections of mediums. And again, humans.
Yeah. Okay. Bad faith mediums. Those who, despite having real abilities, pretend to have others in order to appear more important. However, we cannot label as mediums those persons who, having no mediumistic faculty whatsoever, only produce false phenomenon through charlatanism.
Okay, this is very important to make a differentiation of charlatanism and bad faith mediums. I do not have ostensive mediumship, but I want to show off. I am proud. I want to be, recognized. I can pretend to be a medium. If I apply what I have learned by reading the book and doing everything, perhaps I could put up a show and be a true charlatan and really fake mediumship. That's not what the bad faith mediums are. The bad faith mediums are true mediums. They just seek to put their talent in a higher level of what it is, as if we could do that. Put it to you are here to do the work that you have to do the work and you do a good work. It's not higher, it's not lower than anyone else. Okay, and the medium has an ability perhaps of a psychophony. That's just an example. The medium who is able to receive the thought of his spirit and verbalize it. But then he adds on his own that he sees it and then he's able to describe the whole scenario because he really sees it and everything else. And that part of the scene is something that he adds on his own to make that communication even more grandeur. He tried to make it as big as possible. So there's that I could call a bad faith mediums. And these are things that, again, it's very particular and very individual for the medium, right? Because in the mediumship meetings, we have faith that what's being presented to us is exactly what's happening. Perhaps more experienced medium in that mediumship meeting would be able to notice those things. But I think for most of us in mediumship meetings, we will not be able to differentiate the bad faith mediums if that medium is exaggerating or is trying to add something beyond of what really happened. Most of us, I believe, would not be able to do that. Perhaps, again, a more extensive medium, more experienced medium, be able to notice those things that's happening. Selfish medium.
Selfish mediums, those who only employ their abilities for their own use and keep the communications they receive to themselves. Jealous mediums, those who regard with spite those mediums who are more appreciated and more highly developed. All these bad qualities necessarily have their counterpart in good mediums.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the last two is self-explanatory. And that starts here with good mediums. Is there any question so far on what Kardec's called imperfect mediums?
I think it's important to reinforce the idea that we're talking about mediums here, right? Because when we talk about money, especially, right, there are a couple of things here. First, there are many mediums in this country that honestly charge for their work. They don't understand or they have no knowledge that mediumship, according to Spiritism, follows Jesus' teachings. You give for free what you receive for free. And of course, there are many that take advantage of their abilities or their lack of abilities, but of their cunning ways. And so, because for us in Spiritism, we have this concept that the mediums should not be paid, we are not in the place to recommend any medium. The other day, someone came at the center and asked if we could recommend a good medium because this person was looking to receive a letter from a communication for her grant. We cannot. But we have to recognize that it is an accepted practice in this country outside Spiritism. And of course, there are some good mediums doing a good work, but we are not going to endorse or recommend. And also, there are inside Spiritism those that misunderstand the teachings of Spiritism and think that you cannot charge anything because everything has to be done out of our good hearts. And again, Spiritism doesn't charge for classes, for lectures, for anything, but there are expenses related to Spiritism. So when we have to pay the rent, we have to pay the electric bill, etc. When we rent a place for a speaker for a large audience, of course, we have to pay expenses related to the event. The speaker is not receiving anything normally. Maybe it's being a guest at someone's house, or is being driven from here to there as a courtesy for the event. But the event itself has expenses and needs to cover the expenses. So, for instance, we're doing the symposium this year in Fort Lauderdale, and there is a ticket cost, right? Why there is a ticket cost? Because he has to pay for the event, he has to pay for the facilities, the sound equipment, the technicians, and all those things. So, just a reminder that we're talking about mediumship for hire here, according to Spiritism, is not something that should be done at all. But we need to use reason, which is what Kardec asks us. Use reason to consider what is necessary and what is abuse.
I have a question on this issue of paid mediumship, right? Which is such a very interesting and sometimes very contentious. I think it's fair to say that the quality of the communication of the spirit communicating will change based on the money associated with the communication. I guess my question is, even if the medium is not aware outside of Spiritism that they shouldn't be charging, does that communicating spirit, the elevation of that spirit will be sort of affected if the communication has dollar amount associated with it?
Yeah, there is one thing called the person paying for it, depending on their intention and their merit, right? So they if their intention is honest, they are desperate, and they deserve to receive help and assistance, then a good spirit will communicate through this medium. You know, the same way that we spiritists, many of us have prejudices against other mediumship manifestations. You know well, Rogério, you were in a different spiritual organization, right? And the mediums, they are going to receive all types of spirits, right? According to the merit of the person receiving. So that's why we are not going to condemn all of them and accuse all of them, because many of them are doing honest work, and many of those looking for them are deserve the assistance. You go to a place like Lilydale, right? Most of the mediums that work there are serious mediums. They believe on what they are doing, and they're doing out of their, you know, they're being paid, but they're doing out of their good heart. So the problem that we have to be concerned is inside spiritism, right? There are mediums inside spiritism that do not receive direct payment, but as I almost say, they receive advantages, and they use their pride, and they use their sense of self-importance to take advantage. That is a more dangerous proposition. I think that there are good mediums out there being paid and doing the right work, and people that go to them, if they are really desperate and in need to receive, and they have the merit, they are going to receive the message. Right?
Yeah. Again, it's a discussion that deserves its own time of studies. But yes, there is the merit of the receiver of a good message. But I also believe that there is the possibility of the limitations of the message being received by mediums who use mediumship as a profession, as a source of income.
It's a very delicate that conversation for sure, and I think it deserves its own. I think it's just there's very nuance, right? Because there's truly deserving mediums that have very little. They'll devote their time, and we know that the type of communication they receive might be affected. But also, I understand the merit of the person asking for it, right? Regardless or not they're paying. So it's more about what they deserve it as opposed to the mediums.
Yeah, but I think there is a real possibility of the quality of the messages or the spirits communicating being limited by mediums who exercise mediumship as a profession, as a source of income.
Yep, understood.
And then Kardec says over here that all those, what he calls bad qualities, you know, that we all have as human beings living this planet, necessarily have their counterpart in good mediums. And then he starts with good mediums and says, and notice that Kardec used the word imperfect mediums, but now when he uses the counterpart, he says good mediums. It doesn't say perfect mediums. It's very important. He counterbalances the imperfect, not with perfect, but with good mediums. Okay? Because they are also imperfect. They are good, but imperfect yet.
Okay. Serious mediums, those who only use their abilities for the good and for truly useful purposes. They regard it as a profanation to put them at the service of curious and indifferent persons or for useless purposes.
Thanks.
Welcome.
So being a serious medium means that you never smile, that you have a serious face. No, not necessarily, absolutely not. Serious medium is one who takes the work with serious, who understands the importance of the work, that understand the purpose of the work. The most important is the what for, right? Why am I doing this, right? And only use his or her talent for that good purpose. And again, Jean mentioned, I have to come back, I mentioned that we are talking about mediumship in accordance to spiritism. Okay, there are other groups that practice mediumship in different ways. They are not better nor worse than what we do, different. If you want to practice mediumship in accordance to spiritism, what we survey is mediumship with Jesus, then there is the truly useful purpose of using this talent. In a serious medium, you want to practice the mediumship with that truly useful purpose. And that i.e. goes with the thing, do not give for free what receive for free. Truly useful purpose. Not a profession, not as a means of resource. But again, that deserves a whole study in itself.
Okay. Modest mediums, those who attribute no merit to themselves for the communications they receive, no matter how good they may be. They feel foreign to the communications and do not imagine themselves to be beyond deception. Instead of running from impartial criticism, they ask for it.
Okay, so this is the true medium who understand what it means to be a medium, to be an intermediary between the two planes of our existence. To understand that it's passing through us what they receive, that they are not creating it, they are just passing it. They are not the painter, they are the canvas. Okay? That's the modest medium.
I think the best example of modest medium is Chico Xavier, right?
Oh yeah.
That's the ultimate modest medium. Never received a penny and never kept any present. He received thousands of presents. He would receive with a right hand and pass it with the left hand to someone else. He never kept anything. And he was asked many times, right? He could be a millionaire if he would receive money from his books. And he always said, the work is not mine, the work is of the spirits. That's a model. Of course, we are far from it, but we have a model. We can, the same way we have Jesus as a model for our moral progress, as a guideline of a model of a medium, we have Chico Xavier.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's something important here. I lost my line of thought. Give me a second.
Sorry.
No, please. I'm sorry.
Continue then.
Yeah, no, let's just go back away because very important over here in terms of a key for improvement is when they say they do not imagine themselves to be beyond deception. Instead of running from impartial criticism, they ask for it. That's the greatest sign of modesty, is when I say, well, I'm doing this work here to the best of my abilities. But I know that I'm not perfect. I know that others may take advantage of my talent, of my ability to interpret be an intermediary from the other dimension. If there's anything that you guys have noticed that perhaps I should improve, or I could improve, anything that you think is not going well, please let me know and I'll try to correct. That's how those individuals progress. That's how they make themselves better. That's how they improve themselves. The opposite of the other mediums that we covered before, the proud mediums, the susceptible mediums, that they deny themselves the opportunity of growth because they do not accept criticism. The modest medium seek the criticism to learn and to improve themselves. This is a very important quality. And again, what was in mind that escaped my mind is just that Chico Xavier, as João mentioned, when asked him, he would define himself in accordance with mediumship as a pencil at the hands of the spirits. Was just a pen, I used to say a pen at the hands of the spirits. Nothing more than that. Just an instrument at the hands of the spirits.
Okay. Devoted mediums. Those who understand that true mediums have a mission to fulfill, and that, when necessary, they must sacrifice their likes, habits, pleasures, time, and even their material interests for the good of others.
Okay, so when you say the word mission over here, I think it's important to mention, we have an idea that, you're talking about the great missionaries, right? Those who come to save the human race. You're talking about an individual, tiny little missions, right? A mission to fulfill in that small spiritual center, in that small community. It's a mission, and it's an important, very important mission that, in order to be fulfilled, will require some kind of sacrifices. Every Monday we're going to meet in our leadership meetings. Oh, but that Monday, the Giant going to play, and I really want to watch that game. I deserve to stay home and watch that game. No, the medium will not say me, the devoted medium will not say that. Visit, come to the house. The mediumship meeting starts at 7. A visit come at 5. Say, my friend, you can wait for me here, and I'll be back after the meeting, or no, come another time, but you'll not miss the meeting, the mediumship, for except necessary things, important things. Oh, I'm stressed with my job and everything else. Well, that's the time they should come to the leadership meetings. Oh, I'm stressed because I'm trying to sell this business and do this, and my mind's not there. That's when you should come to the spiritual center. Devoted medium will understand that they have accepted that mission, that they have to do everything in their power to exercise their ability, the best of our ability, for the interest, for the good of others. That is a devoted medium. Now we all go on vacations, and you deserve vacations. We all have responsibility jobs that have to travel because of our jobs. We all understand that. Those are necessities that we cannot escape. First, family. Second, work. And third, the spiritual center. But really, third, the spiritual center. If you're sick, please do not come, especially infections. If you're sick, please do not come in places that your group at risk. If something happens to you inside of the center, things could be complicated, right? If you have obligations with work, you have to travel for work, then absolutely, please do what you have to do. But besides those really necessities, the devoted medium will be there for that mediumship meeting. Comments,
Okay.
questions? All right, move on.
Trustworthy mediums. Those who, besides the ease with which they receive communications, merit great confidence due to their own character and the elevated nature of the spiritual system. They are less likely to be deceived. Later, we shall see that this trustworthiness has nothing to do with respectability of the names taken by spirits is undeniable, and you must well
All right.
understand.
Is there any question regarding that? Could be self-explanatory, yeah?
Okay.
Mediums. And then you have a message from Erastus.
Okay. It is undeniable, and you must well understand that by exposing the qualities and defects of mediums in this way, you will provoke annoyance and even animosity on the part of some. But what does it matter? Mediumship is expanding more and more, and mediums who were to take these remarks badly would only show that they are not good mediums, which means that they are actually assisted by less evolved spirits. Moreover, as I have already stated, all this shall quickly pass, and bad mediums who abuse their abilities or put them to bad use will suffer sad consequences, as has already been the case with some. They will learn at their own cost the consequences for turning a gift that God has given them for their own moral progress into satisfying their earthly passions. If you cannot lead them back onto the moral path, pity them, for they may say that God has reproved them. Varieties.
The rest is very straightforward.
Mm.
No nonsense. Let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. Over here, so there is no pseudo false compassion over here from Erastus when it comes to the mediumship. And again, let's go back over here to what I said in the beginning, that this book is the very first guidelines, the very first study, at least in the Western society that we know of, that I know of, that deals with the topic of mediumship. Kardec was making observations of mediums who did not have this guideline. Kardec was observing and taking notes of individuals, mediums, who have not read that book because the book had not been published yet. And of course, and associated with the observations, the scientific observations of Kardec, there was the revelations, the information that he received through mediumship from the Spirit of Truth, the spirits that was associated with making, bring to us the doctrine of Spiritism, including Erastus, who we know have devoted themselves to assistance and development of mediumship way before Kardec, right? One of he was, let's say, in the department of mediumship, so to say, when it comes to the establishment of this doctrine. It is now we have this guideline. Now the mediums and all of us have this guideline at our hands to be used, to make this a useful instrument to improve our qualities, to improve the ability of fulfill our mission. Go back to the last one I just read, to the best of our abilities. So we have mediums over here listening to this, and no, it's of course not placing a question to anyone. Anyone answer their own question, but how does it make me feel when I read this as a medium? Now, what does it provoke inside of me? Do I place myself in one another or another of these qualities, in all of them, none of the above? Seek to use this as a useful instrument for self-improvement, because self-improvement is improvement of the group. Self-improvement is the improvement of the quality of the work. Self-improvement is improvement of the spirits to whom we associate with. The spirits that receive the message, the angry, the bad, the suffering ones. When I improve myself, I improve the quality of the work of assisting those spirits. Self-improvement increases exponentially the probability and possibility of receiving messages for higher spirits. So there is everything to gain and nothing to lose by using now this guideline that we have at hand. That again, the spirits that the mediums that Kardec observed did not have, now we have. And I believe that, everyone who reads it, this thing, it provokes some kind of reaction, right? And of course, has to provoke some kind of reaction in the mediums who are exposed to these things. The objective, of course, of Kardec here is to use this as a tool for self-improvement. And Erastus, is very straightforward. Say, if you cannot lead them back to the moral path, beat them. For you can say that God has reproved them. I don't like the word reproved. I don't think God reproves anyone, but definitely that the divine laws will ask that medium a question is, what have you done with the instrument that we put at your hands for your growth, for your self-improvement? If the mediums at the time of Kardec, they are already responsible for how they use their talent, now the mediums who has this guideline at hand perhaps has even a greater responsibility. And then we have a message for Socrates as well.
Okay. This table is of great importance, not only for the sincere mediums who, in reading it, will seek in good faith to save themselves from stumbling blocks to which they may be exposed, but also for all those who make use of mediums, because it will provide them with a measure of what they can reasonably expect. The table, as well as a spirit scale, which is its supplement, should constantly be before those who concern themselves with manifestations. These two tables summarize all the principles of the doctrine and will contribute more than you might think toward leading Spiritism onto its true path. Socrates.
So Socrates pretty much said what we had already said over here, and this table is of great importance. Kardec brings now this guideline for us to use. And Socrates says, okay, we're talking about mediums, but this is actually equally important for everyone. Not only for the mediums, but for those associated with mediumship. Again, we have the mediumship meetings, we have the mediums, we have the dialoguers, we have those providing the vibrations, the energies. Everyone is involved, everyone is complex in that work. So this study over here is applicable and important for everyone. And I love when Socrates places over here that these two tables summarize all the principles of the doctrine and will contribute more than you might think towards leading Spiritism on its true path. The all principles of the doctrine. What this doctrine seeks, the objective is improving humankind morally. And all that we study over here, that does with one primarily thing more than anything else, combat at all cost pride. Of the many ways that pride is evidenced in us, by jealousy, by complex of superiority, by not accepting criticism, just about everything that you read over here in terms of imperfect mediums is expressions of pride and selfishness, but primarily pride. Combat pride at all cost. And we see that all the qualities that Kardec placed over here that deals with good mediums, not perfect mediums, is a demonstration of humbleness, of humility. All principles of the doctrine leads us to eliminate from us pride and selfishness. We're going to read straight 198 and 199 because it's basically a summary of everything that was read here so far, and we can finish the chapter, okay?
Okay. 198. All the above mediumistic varieties present innumerable degrees of intensity. There are many that, strictly speaking, do not comprise more than simple nuances, but are nevertheless the result of special aptitudes. We must realize that only very rarely is the mediumistic faculty strictly limited to one type. A medium can undoubtedly have several aptitudes, but they will always be a predominant one, and this is the one that should be cultivated if it is useful. It is a grave mistake to want to in any way force the development of a faculty that one does not possess. On the other hand, it is necessary to cultivate all those that one possesses in germinal state. However, to seek others is a waste of time in the first place, and in the second, it could mean the loss and certainly the weakening of those that already exist. When the principle or seed of a faculty exists, it always expresses itself through unmistakable signs. If they would limit themselves to their own specialty, mediums could perfect it and obtain grand and beautiful results. However, if they concern themselves with everything, they will not get any good results. In passing, it should be noted that the desire to indefinitely extend the ambit of one's faculties is pretentious pride, which the spirits never leave unpunished. Good spirits always forsake the presumptuous, who then become the target of deceiving ones. Unfortunately, it is not uncommon to see mediums who are not content with the faculties they have received and who, out of vanity or ambition, aspire to possess exceptional ones that exceptional ones that they believe exceptional they will believe make them famous. Such pretense takes away their most precious quality, being regarded as true, trustworthy mediums. Socrates. 199. Studying the specialties of mediums is necessary, not only for the mediums themselves, but also for those who call upon them. According to the nature of the spirit whom one might want to evoke, and depending on the questions one wishes to ask, it is imperative to choose the most capable medium. Resorting to the first one who comes along is to expose oneself to receiving unsatisfactory or erroneous responses. Let us make a comparison using ordinary facts. We would not trust an ordinary draft or even a simple copy to the first person to come along only because he or she knew how to write. A musician wants an excerpt of a song he has composed to be performed. There are several singers at his disposal, all of whom are skillful. However, he will not choose at random. For his interpreter, he will try to find the one who has the voice, the capacity of expression, or the qualities that best correspond to the nature of the piece. Spirits do likewise concerning mediums, as we must do likewise concerning spirits. We must further note that the variations presented through mediumship and to which others may be added are not always according to the character of the mediums themselves. Thus, for example, a naturally joyful and jovial medium may habitually receive serious, even severe communications and vice versa. This is yet another proof that mediums act under the impulse of an outside influence. We shall return to this subject in the chapter dealing with the moral influence of the medium.
Okay. Thank you so much, Zoraida.
Thank you.
When it comes to the variety of aptitudes of one single medium, Kardec places over here that most mediums, you have the ability to exercise more or less different types of mediumship. But in general, again, this is in general, right? There will be one of that modalities of the mediumship in which the medium is best, or perhaps was the mission. And Socrates says that modality, that was the mission of the medium, will be noticed strongly. And that's what the medium should make use of it, dedicate to it, and put it to the work of best of his or her ability. Educating it is about education of the mediumship. That's more important thing, and education of the medium to the moral upgrade, elimination of primarily pride, and of course selfishness always, right? You can use an example. Let's say we've been to high school, we've been concerned, and our physical education, we notice individuals who have talent for sports. In general, those individuals, they are good in all the sports that they do. They'll be good in the soccer field, they'll be good in the volleyball court, they'll be good in the basketball court, because they have that talent for sports in general. It's very common. They will be fast, they could be on track and field, they would jump high, jump long, but usually they will have to choose one thing and develop the skills on that thing. If they seek to do many other things, they will be good in everything, but not really good in anything, right? And that's what's placed over here. That a medium may have different aptitudes, but we recognize the one that is the most dominant, and we seek to perfect on that. Does it eliminate the possibility of doing from time to time something different? Absolutely not. Okay, and let's say in a mediumship meeting, the directors who is running the shows are the spiritual directors of the house, not the incarnate. And those spirits may see the necessity of, in that particular day, of providing psychography. And all the mediums over there are primarily of psychophony. But he knows that this or that or the medium also had that possibility of the psychography. And that medium may, in that day, write a message. Nothing wrong with that, and vice versa. Nothing wrong with that. But primarily, most mediums have that dominant aspect of his or her mediumship. And that's why that medium should really concentrate its effort on make it better and better and better in general. Always, again, for the good of the others, for the good of the mediumship, meeting where he or she works. Okay? And remember always that Kardec makes sure that is go back to the beginning of the chapter when we say, don't forget that although the mediums has all these vices and virtues, or the qualities and all those talents, when you're dealing with a true real mediumship, it's the the spirit who is expressing him or herself. So the qualities of the phenomena comes from the spiritual world primarily, secondarily from the medium, but primarily from the spiritual world. Mediums have to be very careful, because spirits will try to deceive. Spirits will try to derail them from fulfilling that mission. So, misery loves company. Spirits who do not want you to progress in the mediumship know what to target. They know where to go and find the weakling in a medium, and will target that weakly very often is pride, is jealousy, is desire for recognition, those kind of things. Again, pride. The medium, all of us have, but especially the medium, because the medium is more subject to the influence from the spiritual world. Be very careful, they will target. And the spirits will use the best instrument they have at hand. They will use the best medium that they have to perform the work that they want to accomplish. If they don't have the absolute best, they use the second best. If they don't have the second best, they use the third best. Until we come to a point that there is not instrument available for them to do their work. And you had seen that. I've seen mediumship meetings in which nothing happens on that day. None of the mediums were prepared, were in good shape to perform the work of the day. Sometimes to protect the mediums, sometimes the mediums they did not have what was necessary to perform that day. It may happen. If it does happen continuously, that's a serious problem that has to be taken care of. And in a serious mediumship group, the problem will be dealt with. I'm sorry I went over a minute. Any comments? So if you have any comment, anything is wrong, let's go for the final prayer.
Next Sunday, we are going to have our Q&A session. Okay.
Okay. Carol, can you do the final prayer for us?
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much, Elmo, for hosting today. Thank you, John, as well. Thank you, Sarita, for reading for us today and for everyone who is here and participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks to be together for our studies of the Mediums book, Part 2, Chapter 16, entitled Writing Mediums. There are various physical qualities of writing mediums, such as calm mediums, fast mediums, and also convulsive mediums, who should be careful that they don't overexert and affect their nervous system. Moral qualities of mediums are important because their character influences the reliability of spirit communications. There are no perfect mediums. Imperfect mediums, as Kardec noted, can be obsessed, deluded, subjugated, frivolous, indifferent, presumptuous, proud, and susceptible as mediums. In accordance to Spiritism, which does not advocate mediums for hire, ambitious mediums who want something or perhaps recognition, bad faith, selfish, and jealous mediums are not part of what is accepted. The qualities of good mediums and their attributes: they are serious, modest, devoted, and trustworthy. They promote growth of the moral and intellectual qualities. They are good, not perfect, but understand their useful purpose. They avoid selfishness at all costs. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all of our participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center SGNY and all spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. And may we remind ourselves now to go forth as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service and charity, which is love in action. May peace, prosperity, and love prevail. So be it.